All right, so I've gotten another intimation from my team that we are live, and today it's going to be a very good evening for people who are looking forward to getting some information from this very new institute. I'm talking about BITSoM. You can see these logos, these faces, which are here. Pretty excited to share what has happened in the foundation batch, and as you can see in the title, in the thumbnail, it's not a clickbait. We are definitely going to try and discuss today to make sure that we give you a perspective or an idea or an image of whether worth it is worth the hype that this particular institute has created. What is the kind of placement that this particular institute has gotten in the very first batch, in the foundation batch? And to do that, we have very young faces and very experienced faces as well. We are going to talk to these faces, try and understand what has their journey been with this very new institute. And to do that, as I mentioned, I have with me Uday Virmani. He's the Assistant Dean of External Engagements. I have Mandar Desai, Mandar Desai as well. Mandar is the Lead Industry Partnerships and Career Services. And I have a couple of graduating students. I have Aneesha and Kabir, who have been placed with companies like HUL and Arthur D. Little. Uh, as I've mentioned, this is the webinar where we get to know about the placement, the kind of experiences that these guys had in order to bringing the new companies in the new campus, and how much did they actually negotiate and gotten to these students as the salaries, as the kind of roles that they got, and much, much more for the future. Uh,
Recording in progress.
Having said this, this particular webinar is definitely for you. You are going to get an opportunity to ask questions to these very people who are sitting here, get first-hand experiences from these people while we have this conversation for an hour today. And I welcome all of you here in this particular conversation. Thank you for being here with us and sharing the kind of things that probably is going to help a lot of these students who are tuning in.
Good evening, Purna. I think it's a pleasure is all ours to be here, to be interacting with you and your team. And also, I think a special thanks to my students, Kabir and Aneesha, to be here. And, they have taken out their time from their precious last hours on the campus to interact today.
Lovely. Absolutely, Uday. I can't agree more with that. And, on that note, I'm going to start with you, Uday, itself. You were part of the placing students at ISB, another institute that all of us know for a fact it has global standards and have always been there in the top ranks, right? From there, you joined BITSoM. Did you find any similarities or differences when you came in here, when you saw the kind of things that were happening in this particular B school? Because you were part of a B school which had a legacy, right? And this was an institute which probably can build a legacy because of the brand that is behind it, right? So how was that for you, and how did you find the leadership of Dr. Banerjee to begin with?
Thanks, Purna. So I have been now with BITSoM for a little more than 10 months now, and I think the experience so far has been absolutely fantastic. I was with ISB for a good period of 7 years, where I headed their career services as a senior director. So in terms of, when we classify a campus or a business school as global, I'm pretty clear in my mind, there are only two schools in the country which are global business school. One is ISB and other is BITSoM. I was privileged to work with ISB, but also at the same time, since I graduated from I Business School in Madrid, so I definitely understand, what the construct of a global business school is. So in the last 10 months, whatever my experience has been, in terms of interaction with the students, with the various stakeholders, with the corporates, and of course the international faculty, I think the ethos is absolutely same, the way ISB was. When we talk about the international faculty, we have, faculty coming from different parts of the world. The faculty who have attained their doctoral degrees from US, where they have done a lot of cutting edge research and which reflects in the classroom when they teach. So when it comes to faculty, it's absolutely pretty similar to what ISB is. The only thing is the difference is ISB is a 1-year program. It was basically created for people with experience. BITSoM is a 2-year MBA program, the first 2-year MBA program of a global stature in India. So relatively the experience in the pool is limited compared to ISB. But when we talk about the academic rigor, I think definitely much ahead. Because being a 2-year MBA program, there's a 1700 hours of rigor which goes in. And also being a new school, it gives us a lot of opportunity to be innovative and agile to what the industry's requirements are. Now, when you talk about the admissions, I think, again, a very similar model like ISB. The idea is that we look into the talent and we are just not obsessed by the test takers. Of course, for the hygiene, test scores are critical. But at the same time, what we are doing is that we are also looking into the various other attributes of a candidate in terms of their contribution towards the community, their past acads, their extracurricular activities, the level of empathy and self-awareness that they have got, the communication skills. So I think it's a very similar model to what a foreign B school will adopt in bringing in the class. And I think we were very lucky when it came to our founding class, because at that time the COVID was in the air and a lot of our candidates had admits from foreign universities and business schools, but they opted to be in India. So in many ways, ISB and BITSoM is similar because we are contributing towards reverse brain drain. We are not letting the good talent go out of the country. That's one. And second is, when you talk about the prototype, I always used to say, when there used to be a comparison drawn between IIMs and the ISB, I always felt that ISB people are wiser because they are well-traveled, they have the experience under their belt, they are outliers. The similar traits I saw in the student community when it came to BITSoM also. Well-traveled students, good self-awareness, outliers who can challenge status quo. And I think because we are a new school, we have been able to bring in some great practices. We have brought in courses in humanity and liberal arts. So the idea is to create, students who are not only good in business, not only good in technology, because technology here is a horizontal rather than a vertical, but also people who are good for the society. We are preparing corporate citizens. Right. So I think in many ways we have a reflection of many schools as far as BITSoM is concerned, and because of being a 2-year MBA program, the academic credentials become even more stronger.
And another smart mind that has come into BITSoM from ISB is Mandar. Mandar, Uday, were you guys friends at ISB when you guys were sort of steering through your careers? How was it working together, and how is it working together now, building an institute again from scratch?
Thanks, Purnangshu. Yes, we have worked together. In fact, we have been working together for the past 6 years now. And, in terms of backgrounds, also, both of us have been bankers in the past before we got into higher education. So in a way, there is a bit of similarity there as well. And I think that also blends in well because, we are kind of able to feed off each other. We understand what exactly are expected from us. And, that way the working rapport is much easier in a way.
Right. And does that mean that, there were more finance companies on campus because you guys understand banking and finance better?
So, yes, I'll just intervene. Sorry. So Mandar was exclusively handling financial services at ISB.
Yeah.
I think if there has been a turnaround story in ISB for the finance placement, the credit goes to this man. So I will let him do more of a talking. I think how he has used his.
Of course, we would love to hear this turnaround story.
Thank you, Uday. Yes, we have seen good traction as far as the finance domain is concerned, both for summers and finals. In fact, in spite of being just the second year of summer internships, there were companies which came in from the IBP domains, investment banking and private equity as well, and have hired students. Now, most of us would know that, for these kind of domains, IBP, typically internship is the route which is used for hiring. That is a preferred route because usually they want to evaluate talent, spend time with the particular talent hands-on, and then take a decision as far as the hiring is concerned. So yes, we have seen good traction as far as this is concerned. And going forward, it will augur well for the future as well as we build relationships even more. In fact, speaking of summers, we had about 11 students who have made it into the IBP domain. And apart from IBP, we also had domestic banks coming in and hiring interns. Speaking of finals, we had top names like JP Morgan, British Petroleum, which came in with the commercial graduate program, Aditya Birla Capital, which hired on a lateral level, both of which, again, needed finance knowledge. We had firms like Aid Capital, Servin Ventures, apart from the domestic banks, which came in and hired from the finals, from the founding batch. So we have seen good traction. Obviously, there's always scope to do much more. And I'm sure going forward, we'll continue to build on the legacy that has been created so far.
I think, Purna, what helps is that when it's a 2-year MBA program, certain industries like to grow talent organically. Now, FMCG and financial services is a classic example where they use summers as a conduit to come and do the hiring.
Right.
Definitely, BITSoM will score over other, the one-year programs because of the inbuilt internship that is there. And that's what Mandar was trying to reflect upon, that what we saw during the last summers for the first year, that is our incoming class which came in for 23-25. We saw a lot of progression happening in the financial services space.
Right.
And we will see, the conversions also happening once they finish with their internship. We'll see the PPOs and PPIs come in. But one good thing is that, and of course we'll talk more later during our discussion, we are not a one-dimensional school. Even keeping the fact that both me and Mandar were bankers, at least I was a reluctant banker. We have made sure that it's a multi-dimensional placement outcome that we have received.
Right.
We've done well. If you ask me whether it is your consulting or general management or consumer product companies or product and technology and financial services, I think we have done pretty well. There's one area where we can improve, which is supply chain and operations. I think we'll talk more about it because
Sure.
we do have a curriculum, we do have the electives which prepare the students. I think that's one area we can improve upon.
Right. From our discussion from the finance and the financial services, I move on to FMCG and consulting now. I have Kabir and Aneesha, the two students who were part of the foundation batch. I've been to BITSoM. Sadly, I'm meeting you guys first time face to face. Probably we have not seen each other on campus, but yeah, welcome in today's conversation as well. I mean, right now you guys are placed. You guys are at a very secure position, but probably when you were roping yourself in, it was not so secure as a position, as a place. And there must be a lot of apprehension also that you guys must have had back then. How did you put your faith and trust in a very new school at that point in time? And how do you feel now when you actually have an offer from a company like HUL and ADL, which is something very few B schools honestly managed to do in their very first year?
So I'll start. For me, coming to BITSoM was a mix of both logic and emotion. So we had the stellar faculty from Harvard, Stanford coming to teach us. The curriculum was very future looking, and obviously the credibility lent to it by the BITS brand name. And emotion in the sense being able to be a part of the founding batch, setting the culture, growing with the institution, and going down as a part of its legacy, having that feeling of ownership. These were big deciding factors for me to be a part of it. So, and I think it played out really well, because today, if you ask each one of us from the founding batch, we all have this very strong sense of ownership and association with the college. When I went to HUL, it was not that I had to perform just for myself. It was I was the representative of my college and I had to perform for the college. So the effort I was putting in was double because it was for a greater cause as well.
Right. And Kabir, what about you?
Yeah, I think Aneesha's covered it pretty well, but just focusing on that element of ownership, right? I think inherently as a cohort, as the founding class, we're supposed to be the risk takers, right? So I think a lot of us inherently are those risk takers, and we took a risk in BITSoM. And I think for most of us, for the majority of the batch, they would confidently say that it's paid off. So I mean, as the base of it was, yes, we're about to do something big. We have that brand name, we have that stability behind us, but it's also us that we stepped up. We collaborated with the management, with the school, and then we built something that we're proud of after 2 years. And it's only going to get better from here. So even as the starting of the school, it's been fabulous and nothing less.
Right. Can you guys give us a little context about your background, Aneesha and Kabir? Where did you come in from? What's the kind of experience that you guys had? And where are you leading now or heading now, so that, the transformational story can be drawn better for the audience?
I'll go ahead, Aneesha. Yeah. So fortunately, luckily, we both hail from the same city. We've grown up in Amritsar, Punjab, but and we also have, I think, similar backgrounds. So I've done my BBA honors from Christ University in Bangalore, and I majored in finance. Post that, I spent about a few months with EY, and then I spent a couple of years with my family business. After that, I was looking for an MBA. I got through a few schools abroad, and like Uday was mentioning, we're trying to reverse the brain drain and that sort of thing. So I made it to Duke University for their Masters in Management program abroad, UCL in London. And then I basically ended up dropping all of that and coming to BITSoM because this seemed like the best option, the best international school in India. And the faculty was a major reason, that the brand of BITS was a major reason. So yes, I've sort of worked in finance. I've had a family business background. I also run a firm of my own right now. And now I'll be switching to consulting post MBA. I'll be joining Arthur as a management consultant.
Great. Aneesha, what about you?
So yeah, as Kabir mentioned, I've been born and brought up in Amritsar. I've done my schooling from there, post which I did my BBA from NMIMS Mumbai. I majored in marketing, and then I worked for a boutique consulting firm for 1.5 years. I worked as a market research analyst there. And that's when I decided that I want to shift to core marketing, be a brand manager, and rise to those levels. So that was not possible without an MBA. So that's when I decided to come to BITSoM.
Two very different career shifts that has happened here. That's why I wanted to bring this up, because that's exactly what an MBA does to you. And I'm going to come back to you, Mandar and Uday. We were talking about financial services. We were talking about banking in general, and the banking industry is something that has changed rapidly. I'm sure when you guys were there at ISB, the banking industry, the jobs, the financial services, the market itself was completely different than what it is right now, and especially in the Indian context, right? So as a new age business school, if I may have to ask you, what are the things BITSoM is doing, which is probably saying that, hey, look, this institute is going to produce such managers, which are going to be as relevant as the entire industry is turning out to be, or the changes that is happening, they are ready for taking up the challenges ahead.
Yeah, so the curriculum itself is very, very contemporary. It's very industry focused. We spoke about humanities and liberal arts being brought in. We have created a module called Winning at the Workplace. So idea is to prepare talent which can hit the road running from day one itself, and they're ready for all kind of ambiguities. And when BITSoM was getting created, the thought was that no engineering college in India had created any global business school. We saw MIT do in US, we saw Stanford also do that, but we never saw anything of those sorts happening in India. So our relationship with BITS Pilani is very similar that to of a Harvard Business School and a Harvard University. The degree gets powered by BITS Pilani, but for all other purposes, we are absolutely autonomous. Right. So what we have done is that because we come under the aegis of BITS Pilani and we get governed by that culture, innovation and technology is at the center. So when we talk about this innovation and technology, it's not a vertical, but it's a horizontal. It has an underpinning across all our management courses. So students learn courses like data visualization, and how AI and ML can be used for better business models and for enhancing the business efficiency. So idea is to prepare talent which can work for the new age firms, can work for the unicorns. Banking has definitely seen a shift. We see a lot of digitalization happening. Yeah. We can see the fintech which has come in and which needs people in the areas of product management, for strategy, for sales and marketing role. So we are preparing our talent which can not only work for the fintechs but also for the edtechs and for the health tech firms. But to be very honest, when it comes to the finance placement, there is there are 4 quadrants. The first quadrant still remains private equity, investment banking. Second quadrant becomes your corporate finance, where you talk about M&A and deals. Then you talk about consumer banking and fintech, and then comes the offshore centers. So still the aspirational jobs to a great extent at campuses remain IB and PE roles. But at the same time, we have seen there's a lot of traction happening in the areas of blockchain, in the areas of AI, in the areas of cybersecurity, risk and compliance in financial services. So those trends that we see in the market, we will see that those jobs also will get pouring in. We had fintech firms which came and engaged with our students. A company called Flexi Loan came and hired one student for their strategy role. And I think this number will keep improving. But at the same time, we need to keep in mind, still the aspirational roles, it's not only about BITSoM, but across the campuses, it still remains IB and PE.
Absolutely.
Mandar, anything that you would like to add before we go to Purna?
No, you're absolutely right. Banking has become more of a digital enabler these days. And in fact, if you look at the roles that are being offered to the students, they are primarily on digital engagements, product development, customer engagements, and the like, retention, all of those. So apart from the traditional banking roles which we used to see over the years, these are some of the roles that are getting added. And I think our students are in very good space, given the fact that, as Uday mentioned, technology is actually something that is across the board, irrespective of specialization. They learn AI, ML, and data analytics across. So that will definitely play a part.
Right. On this note, I would like to tell my audience who's looking at this particular conversation, you have the opportunity to ask questions. Any question that comes to your mind, you put that in on that chat box that's there, that's for you. And there's a link also in that chat box. You can go check that out. Know more about the institute, know more about the programs, and any other further questions that might germinate after visiting that link. On this note, I also want to, let you guys know that the round 4 deadline of this particular institute is ending on 16th of April. So do check that out as well if you're considering this institute as your dream B school next. All right. So I am going to move to something which is very, very special in a B school student's life, because that's the first corporate experience that they get or taste, especially if it's a fresher moving into a system and talking about interns. Tell me a little bit, Mandar, I'm going to ask you this. When you first heard things from the people where they're doing internships and they came back, how did you receive the feedback? And so, for example, how was the corporate feedback like for you about the quality of the students that you guys sent there? And how was the feedback from the students who got in there, the kind of roles that they did or the kind of projects that they got in there?
So industry was quite happy and, very well received in terms of the winning at the workplace WOW courses, what we call. And, these courses are designed to be kind of, developmental courses in such a manner that students can actually hit the ground running. So these are actually softer skills and soft development kind of courses, whether it's negotiation skills, advanced Excel skills, persuasive writing, all of those factors. So given that the industry was quite receptive of this, in fact, they were quite appreciative given the fact that, we are kind of preparing students to hit the ground running. And that's also quite reflective in terms of the number of PPOs that the students actually received. In fact, students have performed admirably, and industry has been quite vocal about that as well. That was quite a positive feedback that we received, and almost about 1/3 of the class had PPOs for a new institute in its first year of operation. Definitely, this was a very, very pleasant and happy experience for us.
Uday, you have any stories around this time that you figured that there is something that you need to work on probably some feedback that you have gotten that you thought that is going to change the course as to how you are going to design it?
See, I think in many ways, we have been disruptors when it comes to management education. Right. And one is, how we train our students, another is the intent. I mean, just to build on what Aneesha and Kabir said, I think there was an intent to prove to the external community that we are one of the best in the country. As when Aneesha said that it was not only about me, but it was for my institute, it was for my business school. I think that was the intent, that was the energy with which our 138 students operated when they went for the summer internships. Now we got almost 46 PPOs come in. I'm not counting the PPIs. And I think that was a reflection about the kind of work that they have done. We have a large ecosystem in which we operate. We have many who are the friends of BITSoM. And, companies are very, very candid. And I think what we got to know is that the kind of attitude, the kind of, the ownership that they had for their assignments and their projects. And also, I think that readiness, the high quotient of learnability, I think that differentiated them because it was a founding class. If you today ask me, the Aneeshas and Kabirs of the world have greater ownership about BITSoM than what Mandar and I would, because they were there before we had also joined the school. So I think this kind of a culture, this kind of ownership, I have not seen in any other school. I was never fortunate to be part of the, I was never fortunate to be part of those founding years, right? Whether it was ISB or whether when I was studying at IE. But at BITSoM, what I've seen that founding class operates on a very different tangent. And I think that ownership that they brought in, I think that reflected into the results and feedback that we got from the industry. I'll be very candid about it, Purna. I did not get any negative feedback about any student. Yes, there are always areas to improve in terms of the functional ability, in terms of the fundamental skills. But in terms of the intent, in terms of the attitude, in terms of the ownership, I think we just stood out.
Absolutely. And as you said, Uday, Anisha, and Kabir, they are the flag bearers of this particular institute now because they will be alum members very soon. And that's why I'm coming to you, Anisha, about your internship experience at HUL. As Uday and Mandar both mentioned about the PPOs, you were one of them who got PPO as well. So what do you think went right in your opinion? What was the kind of overall feedback that you were receiving, and how did you come back and told people that, I think what we are learning is definitely getting us results?
So I think what they were looking at was more of the process and the methodology that was being followed than the outcome itself. We had to look at problems from more of a holistic point of view than just fixate ourselves and just work on whatever we were given. For example, I was working on the D2C strategy of ponds. So I did not have to just suggest a strategy for the D2C and just give it to them. I had to understand what were going to be the business implications of that. Why are we even deciding to go D2C? Can the learnings from this be implicated in any other brands of the company? So it was all about bringing in your own perspective, not just doing what's directed to you. Apart from that, I think what worked in my favor was that I was very, very rigorous in my work. I got this feedback from my mentor as well, that he liked how I went to the depth of things and was very sharp about whatever I was presenting to them. I looked at my work 10 times before I was going to my tutor, even for a midway feedback. So, yeah, that. And I can't emphasize how important intent is. Your tutor can see through you at the very beginning. They know if you're doing the work just for the sake of it, or are you in for the greater goal? You actually want to make the impact. So that honesty, like HUL as a company values integrity, honesty at the peak of it. So that's something
Right.
that you have to go with during the internship.
Absolutely. And what about you, Kabir? Consulting is something that B school students aim for. They die for this particular position. They fight it out. When it comes to that during the final placement, where your eyes also fixed to it because you came in from a very different background. Tell us how ADL happened to you as well. Were you expecting that a company of that sort will come in at the very first year when you are a part of the foundation batch?
Yeah, so to be honest, my journey towards consulting was a bit of a mixed bag. So, being a finance grad, I was more than inclined to join the IBP VCs of the world, and I was looking at those firms. But during that first year, during the initial months, I sort of started to unlearn, relearn, things about me itself. So we've mentioned self-awareness a couple of times today, and it really takes a lot for you to look inside and accept that maybe I'm not doing this for the actual reason. Maybe I do not like this, and my heart is somewhere else. And that was the sort of journey that took me to consulting. I run a business. I've had experience in family business. So at my core, I really am about business. And banking and VC wasn't really leading me there. So I took that jump. I had that faith. I spoke to the dean a bunch of times. I had mentors. I spoke to all of them and sort of circumference to the idea that, consulting might be a great spot for me. So I dived headfirst into it, and to know it today, I absolutely love it. I expected the likes of Adriel Carney's, the MBBs to definitely show up on campus. Of course, we have that brand. Of course, we have that rigor. We have that thing going on for us. So I expected those firms to show up. They did show up, and fortunately, I worked hard towards it. I got in, and once at the internship, like Aneesha said, it's all about the attitude. You need to work hard. You need to want it desperately, hardly, and you need to work that hard. You need to have that determination. So once there, yes, each and every project, each and everything will show your attitude. But before that, I also think that it takes a lot out of you to know what you want. And the sooner you know, the more transparent you are with yourself, the better you will be at the job you do.
Right. Mandar, Uday, when you met these guys, Kabir, Anisha, I don't know at which point in their career you met them. Were they as confident, or do you guys do something for that they become more presentable in front of the companies and they know how to, impress them and get through to these companies?
Honestly, I missed the great show. I wasn't there for the first year. So when I met Aneesha and Kabir, they were the finished products. They were always on the verge of getting their PPOs. Always came across as very confident and with great attitude. But one thing is there, that full of respect and humility. I think this is something which I've really liked of what I have seen as far as BITSoM students are concerned. So I think in terms of their transformational journey, I think it had happened in the very first year. But to be very honest with you, it's very incidental that when we say that we bring great outcomes for our students, the students are definitely good to start with. Definitely the spikes are brought by the business school. You have those learning, you learn those management education, but the core is very much there. So I'm very confident when it comes to Aneesha and Kabir, the core was very much there. Mandar, anything that you would like to add to this?
No, I just wanted to mention that, as Kabir spoke about mentors, I believe, and rather we believe that BITSoM has a unique personality development program wherein, we kind of, very senior faculty of ours, Dr. Leena Chatterjee, actually works one-on-one with all the students to understand where they are, what is their journey, where they intend to go. And, accordingly, it gets mapped, and the students are also mapped to about 45 mentors from the industry. And these are all senior professionals from the industry. So what it allows the students to do is they're able to bounce off their ideas with these senior industry folk, try and do a bit of course correction, as Kabir mentioned, get a little bit of feedback from them. And therefore, they're able to kind of plan their journey in a much better way. So I think that definitely also has played its part. In fact, what Kabir mentioned, the kind of seconds this particular aspect.
Lovely. I'm going to take a few questions that have come in from the audience now. Paulame Mandal has asked, ISB is a 1 year and BITSoM is a 2-year program. Why is it that BITSoM does not have a 1-year program? I mean, it's in the very first foundation batch you have gotten this question. Are you guys planning?
So, well, the plans are there that in next 3 to 5 years time, we will have an executive MBA. We'll also have a part-time MBA, which we call it as more of a modular MBA. So it's definitely part of the plan. Our MBA is kind of an answer to the MIM, which is offered by London Business School. 1 year MBA will be part of the journey. But as far as our flagship offering is concerned, it is going to be a 2-year MBA program.
Right. Kavya has asked a question that probably some of them also have in mind. Kavya is asking, if you don't mind sharing, can you please share the possible reason why BCG did not hire in the final placement despite hiring for the SIP?
All right. So BCG did make its presence during the summer internships of the founding class. See, when the class size is small, the talent pool is also very limited, which wants to make a career in consulting. Because we have people who have aspirations to get into FMCG, to get into supply chain and operations, to get into finance. So it's a byproduct of the number of students which are there in the class. If I have to speak about the statistics, ISB witnessed only McKinsey and BCG for many years. In fact, Bain came in only in the year 2015-16. Right. So for a class of 138 to have all top strategy consulting firms coming and operating in the very first year, it's very, very rare. And, you have to have that pool. You have to have that critical mass because the firms are competing for the same set of people. Right. Yeah. So I think it's because of the place being a little overcrowded that BCG could not get the talent that they were looking for.
Right. Just to set the context right, Uday, what was the batch size that we are talking about in the foundation batch?
The founding class has 138 students.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So related question, Abhishek Yadav is asking, while it's great to get MBB hire from your first batch, but would want to know what is the percent of the batch that usually gets hired in a top tier consulting firm. So is there a number? Is there a trend that you guys have seen?
Yeah.
Do you follow that? Do you also see that, this is something that we can target in the future?
So Purna, GMAC came out with the statistics that any B school is a powerhouse which places around about its 20 to 25% of its class in consulting. Now today, as far as our founding class is concerned, almost 30 students have got into consulting, but it is across the spectrum: strategy consulting, transactional consulting, operations, tech, human capital consulting. When we purely talk about the strategy consulting firms, anything in the range of 10 to 15% is a desirable number. From our founding class, 7 students have got placed into strategy consulting. Right, it is a little less than the 10% number, but I think this is our first year, as far as inception is concerned, and we'll keep improving on these numbers. But if the question is what is the trend, is around about 10 to 15% from a premium campus when it comes to strategy consulting firms.
Right, lovely. Mancha Jain is asking, can we still apply for BITSoM? Absolutely, you can. This is something that I have also mentioned. Sunday, 16th of April is the 4th round deadline date. check the link that is there on the chat box. Go there, check it out for yourself, make your own conscious decision. And for the time being, if you have any other questions, these guys are here. We are going to definitely take them and answer your questions. One last question before I move on with my questions. Okay. Is there going to be an audited placement report published? Is a question that I have received from, again, Abhishek Yadav. Are there plans to that? When is that going to happen?
So we are targeting, as far as our final placement report is concerned, somewhere by the third or the final week of April, and that will be an audited one.
Super. Okay, we'll get back to the questions that I have had. Meanwhile, you guys have the opportunity to ask questions. Again, as I mentioned, it's going to be an unfiltered chat. I am going to pick your questions and throw at them. And I hope that I will get an answer for you guys for the clarity of thoughts, for the clarity of your decision that you can make. Moving on, I'm going to go to you guys, Aneesha, Kabir. These are very questions that come to your mind also probably when you are making that decision of getting into a new school. And that's fairly legit, when you're putting in a lot of money, you're putting in a lot of time, you're investing your best years probably, and you will get the best sort of returns is what you expect. So what are some of the key placement figures this year, if I have to ask you, that you guys have seen that BITSoM is proud of? Do you have the numbers in front of you that you can share with us? And were there apprehensions when this entire process started that probably it might not go as high as the other contemporaries or the other B schools or the other students that you were looking out from?
Yeah, so I think the school has released a document a couple of days ago, and we have a bunch of numbers there. So I just directly quote those numbers. I think the average CTC of the top 10% is close to 38 or 37 lakhs. Average of the top 30% is close to 30 lakhs, and the average CTC of the top 50% is close to 28 lakhs. And I think these numbers are subject to change because the placement will end and the final report, the audited report, will come out. But as far as we go today, these numbers are valid and they do hold true.
Right. Anything that stood out in your opinion in that placement report that you guys were not expecting and was a surprise for you guys?
To be honest, I think we've done pretty well. I think founding class, the first batch to get placed, I think we're right up there with the top B schools of the country. Was it a surprise? I don't think so. We've done this MBA over the last 2 years. I think we were in good stead. Things were happening. We were in a good shape. So overall, as a cohort, as a class, we've ended up where we thought we would be. And yeah, we're proud and we're thankful of both Uday and Mandar who are doing a good job.
Right. I've asked this before, but I'm going to request you there to, reflect on it a little more and tell us a little more as to what are the kind of roles that you saw in abundance, and whether, you mentioned about the companies that came in, or the sectors that these companies came in from, but what are the kind of roles that they have gotten, and how do you think you're going to make it better from here on? You said that there is improvement, there is definitely improvement in the supply chain and operations sector where you want to see in the next couple of months or years in this particular institute. How is that going to happen, and what are some of the roles that they have gotten this year?
So as far as the sectors which has been leading the pack, consulting and general management definitely have stood out. We also have done well when it comes to sales and marketing and finance. Supply chain and operations definitely is one area which can be improved. Also, when it comes to the companies, I would not name the companies here, but in the FMCG segment, also in the some of the tech product companies, we can definitely have an improvement, and there will be a focus in the coming year. If I talk about Accenture, for example, they came for their product and technology consulting, and they did not come for strategy consulting. Now, if we have the MBBs coming and hiring, it definitely makes a case for an Accenture also to do that. This year, we saw a little bit of a slowdown in the market because the last 3 years, the hiring has been extremely high across all the premium campuses. We saw a bit of a slowdown to happen. And for the companies to add a new school, and that also in the tier 1 category, was a little bit challenging. So I think that restricted some of the firms to come to the campus this year. Right. I'm very confident in the coming year with the given results. that we have received for the founding class and the kind of, the throughput that we have got also for our second internships, I think we'll see an improved company count also. I think there is definitely a scope to add few consulting firms across the spectrum. There is a scope to add some of the FMCG firms also, and supply chain and operations for sure.
Lovely. Uday, related question. You said that there are market ups and downs that are always there, and you're fortunate or unfortunate at what point it is happening, right? But what are you doing to strengthen the industry partnerships, being a new institute? Is it just the BITS brand that's going to work in your favor, or there are concentrated efforts that are being put so that things get better from here?
So, as I had said initially also, that this is the first 2-year MBA program in the country which has a dedicated career services team. So there's a lot of investment that has been made in people, in the processes, in the systems. It's not a seasonal activity anymore. Now, if you ask me in terms of numbers, we almost had 300 plus client meetings during the last 10 months period. We have created some strong policies related to recruiters and students so that there's a good parity and transparency for both the stakeholders. And there's a sufficient amount of investment done in systems and digitalization. In terms of, when you have a team and there's a recessionary phase which can come every time, and there could be certain industries which can be impacted. To de-risk it, I think we have, expanded our outreach. We use a sales model called Miller-Hyman, where we try to map an account and we try to connect with multiple buyers who can influence the decision to go to a campus and to do the hiring. Now, we have created a property called Spotlight, under which we call the practitioners to come and interact with our students, again, a part of their transformational journey. The idea is that these business buyers should have a first-hand feel of the talent that we have got, and that can help in making the decision to go and visit a campus during the placements. And of course, there are other methods that we have deployed. We'll be having more of case study competitions. We'll be having these practitioners to come and take up workshops. Under our WOW also, we have a large community of practitioners who come and interact with the students. Again, they act as friends of BITSoM. So we have a large ecosystem going for us, which will enable us to get accounts and relationships, which we have not been able to crack so far.
Okay, lovely. Mandar, as an institute, what does BITSoM consider as the return on investment? Are these the numbers, the first numbers that have come out are the return of investment according to you? How should someone, go about calculating it if they are making that decision whether to take this institute as their future institute or not? Something that comes to everybody's mind is, there is no alumni network to look into, but now there is Kabir and Aneesha, which people or students can talk to. But initially that was not there. Do you think that what is the right way for these students to go about making that decision? How should they go about it?
So return on investment cannot be measured only in terms of the CTC. One needs to factor in the BITS Pilani alumni network also. And BITSoM students, while you're right in saying that, this is the first alumni pool of BITSoM talent, but having said that, they will have access to the larger pool of BITS Pilani alumni. And these are quite large in number. So, as an ecosystem, we are definitely supported, and definitely there is a large alumni pool to look at. So that's one. The other thing one needs to look at is the stellar global faculty, which has been drawn from the top B schools globally. So when you're talking of ROI, it's also about, what is the learning that a particular student is going to get? What is the kind of transformation journey that a student will undergo over these 2 years that they would spend at the institute, right? And other than that, the diversity in terms of learning, whether it's in terms of, the winning at the workplace courses that are being taught, I think we are probably the only B school which actually is taking up these soft skills courses, whether it's liberal arts, humanities, whether, any of the other aspects that are covered that I mentioned earlier. So all of these factors would definitely add to the holistic development of an individual student. And I think that is also something that needs to be evaluated when we are talking of the ROI. Having said that, we've seen a good jump of 25% in terms of the mean and 33% average increase in the summer internship year on year. The average of the PPOs also has been quite a healthy number of about 25 lakhs. So that's definitely quite a good factor. Kabir mentioned about the statistics as far as the final placements are concerned. So we've not done too bad there as well. So, if you look at ROI, we need to look at it as a holistic combination or a wholesome combination of all of these factors put together, not just the revenue per se.
Purna, what becomes critical is the delta that you render. If you look at the pre-BITSoM salaries which were declared by the students, those who were working, the average was around about 7 lakhs. And this 7 lakh salary has moved to a CTC of 20 lakhs. The press release states that very clearly. So there's a substantial delta over there. That's number one. Second is when, what Mandar spoke, I'll just sum it up. When it comes for a long-term investment, it is the network association and the brand association that you get from the school. When it comes about the brand, I think, we come under the aegis of BITS Pilani. So definitely the brand has been created, and the BITSoM brand will get created over the next 3 to 5 years time when we see the performance of our alumni, which will be there in the market. And other thing is that the peer-to-peer learning that they have got, the friends that they have made for the life. And, BITSoM is a melting pot, what Aneesha had mentioned initially. We get people from Harvard, we get people from Yale, from John Hopkins, from Singapore Management University. I think it's best of, both worlds, where you also have the Indian practitioners and coming and teaching, and you have the global faculty come in. I think it's absolutely unparalleled.
Right. Kabir, Aneesha, while this would be rude in my part to ask what exactly was your salary, I am going to ask you what exactly was the opportunity cost for you guys when you did this MBA, and how justified do you think your decision has been now that we are at the end of this journey here?
So in monetary terms, my previous job wouldn't have even been 1/4 of the median salary that our batch is receiving today. But more in terms of satisfaction, the roles that you get post MBA are very different from the roles that you get pre MBA. At least in 90% of the cases, that's the scenario. So that satisfaction level that I will be getting now with my current job would not have been possible in my earlier job. So that is the opportunity cost for me, and I'm very, very glad I took this decision to come to BITSoM.
What about you, Kabir?
Yeah, for me, I think pretty much similar. My pre-MBA salary would be, I'd say 1/5 maybe of my post-MBA, or 1/6 also rather. So yes, that's been a huge jump, 5x, 6x jump. But as Mandar said, that you cannot take your ROI just as the CTC. There's a lot more going on in these 2 years. You're growing as a person, you're making connections, you're getting the BITS brand, you're getting so much more than just money. And these things, do sound just words on a paper before you show up and before things actually play down. But once you go through this journey, you actually realize that this has a lot more weight attached to it than you realized at the beginning. So, yes, the money factor is there. It's important, but there's so much more to an MBA than just the CTC.
Right. Okay, I have a host of questions now. I'm going to shoot to you guys one after the other. You guys have the option to dodge questions also if you want to. If not, the answers are welcome. Shantanu is asking, what are the opportunities for general management roles and possibilities for the batch coming in this year?
So post-consulting, I think general management has been the highest recruiter on the campus. I think we almost had 30 to 35 students get into general management. So, and we'll continue with that good work that we have done for the founding class.
Right. Will 100% people will be placed? And the other question is, which company offer the highest number of roles if there is a data around that so far?
So will the 100% placement would happen? The answer is definitely it would. I mean, we don't have choice, right? And as far as roles are concerned, I think, we have got multiple roles from multiple companies coming in. If I have correctly understood your question, that which company provided the largest number of roles?
Yeah.
It was ABG, Aditya Birla Group, because they came for their leadership program. Plus also they have picked up the lateral talent just because of the sheer scale of their, just a sheer scale of the conglomerate. The number of roles representation were highest from them.
Right. Lovely. Okay. Next question. When will waitlist movement start? I think a lot of people are waitlisting right now for admissions. Is there a respite for them anytime soon?
So the admissions committee works very closely with the aspirants. I think, we have been very proficient in terms of our communication channel. So they will soon get to hear from them.
Okay. Another question for admission committee. I don't know whether you guys will be able to answer this. BITSoM admission interviews are happening online or offline this year?
So since I'm part of the interview panel, and so is Mandar, so it's happening online as of now. Right. In fact, I have conducted all online interviews.
Lovely. Okay. While there is integration of data analytics in the course, are there any additional steps taken to attract broadband tech consulting roles?
Yeah, the idea is that, in fact, consulting, product management, and sales and marketing via the FMCG mode will be the most aspirational, will be the most aspirational roles on the campus. This year, we saw a little bit of a slowdown in the tech sector, but yes, hopefully in the coming year, we will make a lot of improvement when it comes to product management.
Right. Maina Sharma is asking, what are the placement stats for freshers? Is there a demarcation right now that you guys have in terms of figures?
So we don't make a demarcation as such, Purna, but in terms of the numbers to what Kabir had mentioned, see the top 10, the top 30 and top 50 is not going to change, right? But as far as our current median is concerned, we are at 23 and that is that's the number again that's going to be stable. When it comes to the average, currently we are at 23.81. We have still got 14 students who have not got any offer. 124 are those who have got at least one offer. And we hope that the number of, as far as the average CTC is concerned, should remain anything in the range of 23.5 to 24.
Okay. There's a campus related question also. Is there going to be a campus soon, or is it going to be the one floor campus that's there right now?
It's an urban campus in the heart of the Mumbai city, in a very, very posh locality. And if you ask me, I think in terms of the student life cycle is concerned, I think they have got some great living by being here. But yes, the idea is that in next 8 months to 10 months period, we should be moving to our upcountry campus.
Lovely. I personally have seen the blueprints and the idea that is in place. So you can be rest assured that there is a campus that is being built. It's a matter of time when new students.
No, the work is in full swing, and it's a 70 acres land parcel where actually we will witness 3 institutes coming in. We of course have the school for business. We'll also have a school for law, and fingers crossed. I mean, I don't think this is the right forum, but there should be a 3rd institute also come by.
Right. All right. How is the BITSoM for freshers? Because most of the batch is experienced. There is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether this report, whether this claim, whether this question holds ground. But this is something that Maina Sharma is asking.
No, that isn't true. I think because it's a 2-year MBA program, we get a lot of freshers also. Yes, the average work ex of the class is around about 2.5 years. That's the sweet spot. But at the same time, we have people with 0 work ex. We have almost 20 to 25% of the class with 0 work experience.
Right. Okay. Shubhadeep is asking, she wants to know more about the global immersion program with LBS. What exactly happens? How is that structured?
I think Aneesha and Kabir will be in a better space to answer.
Right. Sure. Go ahead, guys.
So it was a 2-week immersion program where we were invited to LBS, and after that also most of us extended our stay there, and we used the time to explore the city and learn there. The program was very well structured. We had it was about leadership and strategy, and we had the faculty come there. Then we had an entrepreneurship lab set there where each of us got a project with smaller companies, and we advised them on what their strategy should be and how can they grow. So overall, it was a very fun and learning enriching experience.
Right. Kabir, you want to add something?
I think it's pretty well summed up. It was a global immersion classic program. We went there with LBS. We had guest lectures, capstone consulting project. So overall, a fabulous experience, and we got to London, a great school as well. So
did you party as well?
Yeah, I think that was also a good part of it.
Right. Okay. One more question. Some RJ, I don't know how to pronounce it. How do you guys think having more than 5 years of experience? Do you think having more than 5 years experience using placement? Sorry, my dog is continuously barking at something, but the question remains the same. 5 years of experience, is it going to be favorable for him if they do an MBA with you guys?
I've been a firm believer that you should have a good mix in the class. You should have the digital natives and migrants coming and studying together. But at the same time, traditionally, what I have seen is that people with little higher work ex prefer to go for a 1-year MBA program, where there's a larger community and you get those you get those specific roles come in for people with vintage. But having said that, I think when we speak to the corporates, when we speak to the clients, we say that we want you to come and solicit our talent at all the levels, whether it's a management trainee level or whether it's a manager or senior manager level. Now, for example, AVG hired people with more than 36 months of experience too. That was purely for the lateral category. As we grow as a school, we'll definitely add more conglomerates. Now, we were in discussions with Adani and they wanted people with experience. We were in discussions with Cadila, they wanted people with experience. In fact, because the class size was small, we were a little limited in terms of higher work experience. We were also constrained to get in certain roles. So if you ask me, if there is a certain degree of readiness to make a change in terms of the function or the industry, or to have a trade-off in terms of starting in a new industry, I don't think placing somebody with 5 to 8 years of work experience is a challenge. But yes, when it comes to BITSoM, the larger community is of people with experience of anything between 0 to 2 years.
All right. Another question from Mansa: is the teaching case study based? Are national competitions acknowledged?
Kabir, would you like to go?
Yes, the teaching is case study based. Almost, I think every subject, if I'm not wrong, will be case study based. It's proven, it's great, and it's worked well for us. And with national competitions, yes, I think a bunch of us have won national competitions as part of the initial cohort as well. So if I'm not wrong, close to 10, 12 students have won 4, 5, 6 tournaments, 6 national competitions. So yes, they are recognized, they are supported, they're also participated into. In fact, we also hold our own competitions internally and as well as on a national scale. So the extracurriculars are also pumped up.
Okay, lovely. This is a very unusual question, I would say. Are all internships paid or some are unpaid?
Majority are paid.
Right.
Almost 100% are paid, barring, I think this year only, I think we had 2 cases where the stipend hasn't been paid. Right.
Got it. Okay. Do freshers get a salary above 20 plus LPA? I mean, this is something that a lot of people do have in mind as a question. Do you want to contextualize this question and make it, break it down for somebody to understand it better?
Oh, it does. I mean, for example, if you pick up the LEAP program, which comes for ABG, I mean, they pick up people with 0 to 36 months of experience. They pay a CTC of 26.5 lakhs. So there is a large set of contingent which has 0 work ex, and yet they have been selected for this program. But see, one thing one need to remember, when we talk about 20 lakh CTC, 25 lakh rupees CTC, you need to create opportunities for yourself. When you go for your summer internship, the way Aneesha and Kabir, contributed to their concerned firms, they created opportunities for themselves. See, a school to a certain extent can contribute, but the 50% work needs to be done from the candidate's end.
Yeah.
Whether it's the contribution towards their academics, their extra co-curricular activities, the kind of transformation and spike that they have during the 2 years period. Even when the companies are looking for talent, I think the ones which come for the leadership cadre roles are those who have a very structured hiring programs, who have very deep pockets. So paying 20 lakhs or 25 lakhs is not a problem for them. But the fact of the matter is, it is the student's ability to crack those roles. So
Absolutely.
To answer your question in a nutshell, yes, there will be jobs which will pay more than 20 lakhs CPC for people who are freshers. But at the same time, it is the students' owners also to create an opportunity for themselves.
Absolutely. And probably India is the only country where students get these opportunities on campus and not any other country in the world.
Absolutely. You're asking about it.
Okay. So one more, I think couple of more questions and then we can wrap this session up. Is there any scholarship is something Shantanu is asking?
Oh, there is multiple scholarships that are there. And I think our admissions team would be in a better position to answer around it. But the answer is yes. Kabir, maybe you can.
Just to add to that, Aneesha and I both are on scholarships.
Here you go.
Lovely. Great. So you guys have gotten the answer. Whoever wants to know more about scholarships, you can get in touch with Aneesha and Kabir. You can know more about the scholarships, how to get through, what are the kind of things that they did, which helped them. So yeah, definitely do that.
You can have a look at the website. It has the details of the scholarships. There are merit-based scholarships. There are scholarships for women, and there are need-based scholarships as well. I think the details are available for it.
Definitely. All right. Paltrika is again asking a question saying, are there any startups incubating on campus currently? If yes, how does BITSoM help with the same?
See, we work very closely with BITS Pilani. Now they have a center for entrepreneurship and innovation. We as a school, we haven't yet started that center, but there's a good symbiotic relationship going. See, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's the atmosphere and it's the culture and the ethos. We are the only school which has a specialization in entrepreneurship and innovation. So in terms of learning, in terms of getting people connected with senior leaders coming from the startup ecosystem, that would not be a challenge. But to have a setup where your ideas can be bounced off, where you can be connected with the VCs, with the investors, I think that can be done in conjunction with BITS Pilani.
Lovely. I think we have answered a lot of these questions that people had. I'm sure there are going to be more questions as and when this video goes live and stays there on YouTube. There are some questions that we're definitely going to send to you guys as well later on for the interest of the time, because we can't keep on having these questions. I think if you guys want to know more about this, definitely visit the link that is there in the chat box. Do talk to these people who are graduating, people like Aneesha and Kabir. Do get in touch with people like Uday and Mandar as well. Do talk to the admission office as well and get your doubts solved before voting yourself. Before we end this particular session, I have one questions apiece for all of you guys. Uday, Mandar, for you guys, my question would be, how are you going to make sure that things are going to get better from here? How are you collectively handling the students here? What makes you feel that this particular is definitely different from 10 others who probably are planning to start or are already there or have started business?
Purna, what I feel is that building of an institute is not plug and play. It is a journey, and I think our intent has been absolutely right, and we have taken the right steps. It starts from the admission process of getting the right set of people into the classroom, having some great faculty to come and teach, a contemporary curriculum, investing right in the functional staff so that we ensure good placements and career outcomes. And also, I think in terms of the infrastructure also, which is also in the works and build. Now, the thing is that we have to keep improving. We have to be a better version of ourselves every year. We already had 70 unique companies which came and hired during the summers. If we add the unique numbers of finals also, I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of 90 to 95. Now, this book is going to only expand, right? Once our first class graduates and starts working in the industry, we'll see some great footprints coming in, which will have a good effect for the second class also, which is there. So I think this is going to be, this is something which is very, very, it's a continuous process. We have to keep doing better in terms of our systems. We have to keep doing better in terms of our processes. We have to keep rethinking about how we can make our curriculum more industry relevant, right? And see, we don't have, for example, HR and OB as a specialization. Maybe that is one area we need to look into. Right. And, as I very categorically said, that we have good course around e-commerce and digital leadership. And we have some good courses going around supply chain and operation, but we somehow could not do well in terms of getting firms to come and hire for that. So that is one area that we should be looking into. FMCG, traditionally these firms prefer to trial and test a campus for 3 years before making a decision. Right. I think we have made some good inroads with companies like Unilever, Tata Consumers, Nivea, Pidilite coming in. So we have a story to go and tell to the likes of P&G and Colgate to come and hire for the next year. We had some new age firms to come and hire for product management roles, but we still had the likes of Amazon missing. So I personally feel that, there is still a lot of work that can be done. We are work in progress, but the direction is absolutely right. We have the right people in place to deliver. And good thing is that now, our founding class will be passing out.
Right.
Yeah, so I think we should see great throughput to come by through them also.
Absolutely. Thank you for that honesty, Uday, there. And I hope that, these schools who come in, who want to make a mark, follow this as a principle, as a value, because nobody school is perfect. And it's a matter of how you want to reflect your own, on your own failures or the kind of things that you could have done better and do things better. And hopefully you guys will also do that. Aneesha, Kabir, final words from you guys. This webinar is to help people like you, probably the kind of position that you guys wear, in, I mean, 2 years back, probably you were sitting and attending a webinar like this at your own respective places and thinking whether to join a B school like this or not. What will be your advice and what will be the last word from you guys?
So in BITSoM, there's one statement that we live by. It's a VUCA world, and you need to be adaptable, flexible, willing to get your hands dirty. If you have that entrepreneurial spirit with you, then BITSoM is the place with you. You're going to be provided with all the raw materials that you need for success. And then it's on you how you're going to mold them into the final product. But rest assured, you're going to get the best of the faculty, the best of the curriculum, a very rich and diverse cohort that works together for continuous success of each other. So BITSoM is the place to be if you have these traits.
Right. Kabir, last words.
Yeah, I think it's been fabulous for me, and I would recommend the school to anybody who's hardworking, who loves taking accountability, who wants to be a part of something that is bigger than themselves, that is a little bit out of the box, that is trying to be something greater and has a legacy attached to it. So yes, if you're a risk taker and if you're a hard worker, you want to build something, I think this is the best school out there.
Mandar, you want to finish this off by something that you say to your students when they don't particularly go through the dream companies that they want to?
No, as Uday mentioned, we'll continue to work in being better versions of ourselves. We'll continue to, do the things which have gone well. And all I can say is the best is yet to come. Onwards and upwards from here on. Thank you.
Lovely. Onwards and upwards. And I hope and I wish that this is something that you guys can build and carry forward doing. And I hope that I hear more and more stories going forward in the next year of successes of people, of the kind of remarkable journey that they have had in their career. I hope that numbers keep getting better, but at the same time, the heart is at place to create people who are conscious and who are leaders for tomorrow to bring change. Thank you very much once again, everybody who's present in this call. Thank you for being candid. Thank you for presenting the things that are there, which is going to be beneficial for people who are looking at it. And I hope that, again, as I mentioned, you create the next batch as strong as ever. Thank you very much and have a very good night.
Thanks, Prerna. Lovely
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.